If you have ever sat down to start your week, opened your laptop, and started staring at that blinking cursor on your blank page, it's that feeling that you know you should be posting, you know you should be emailing your list, and you know you need to be showing up for your audience. But instead, you're stuck in the same cycle. No plan for posting, no smart system, and that guilt is just creeping in and that you're falling behind on your marketing again. Like, trust me, this is my reality. And honestly, for me and for my clients, it's not creativity. It's just that you're trying to create consistent content without an actual system. So, if you have ever felt overwhelmed by the content creation or the feeling that you need to be this content creator as a business owner, this episode is for you. But before we get started, if you're new around here, welcome to the Deeply Rooted Business Podcast. This is where we try to align strategy and execution and all things intentionality in your business. I am Rachel, and I am your guide through all things email marketing. And I am here with Jess, our systems architect, guru, genius of all things. And today we are going to start breaking down the exact method that we use. We actually implement this in our businesses that help us go from content chaos to executing and delivering strategic, aligned content in just 1 hour. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Yep. I'm so excited about this episode because I see so many of my clients struggle with this. A lot of our clients are health and wellness educators, as you know, and they preach, sustainability and balance and integration to their clients. But when it comes to content creation, I think we're all guilty of staying up late to do emails or just kind of getting that big cortisol spike when you sit down Monday morning and know you don't have anything to post. So you're either, when your clients start to ramp up, completely abandoning creating content, and that's going to keep you in a stuck of cycle growth rather than kind of building on momentum, or you're just kind of working way beyond the number of hours that you want to, and marketing is supposed to be feeling like your second job. But I mean, the reason why this doesn't work, or why so many people, I think, especially small business owners, find themselves in this situation, is that they're trying to adhere to a system that really isn't built for them. Like most traditional marketing advice assumes you have a giant team, right? And I think you just read a survey where what's the percent of small business owners that are solopreneurs?
Yeah, it's this. We'll put the show notes or put the link in the show notes, but it's essentially this survey that's been ran for the past couple of years where it talks about the length of time that people are in business. And one of the most fascinating insights from this survey was that business owners that had been in business over 5 years, so for an average of around 5 years, have teams of one or teams of two. And, that kind of just takes away the idea of as you're in your business longer, that your team needs to grow. Sometimes it doesn't. So these ideas of scalability and being able to execute at a larger scale just the advice doesn't align, is essentially what we're kind of seeing in all of our clients where they're tapped out. They're using their creative genius for their clients, and then they come to sit down and they're blank,
Yeah.
completely blank.
Yeah. So I think let's kind of just go through some of the advice that we hear all the time and just debunk it. Okay. So first of all, post every day. I don't know about you, but daily I walk around with guilt if I haven't posted on Instagram.
I haven't posted in over a year.
And it's so crazy because one, I've just talked to Rachel with this. Not a lot of my clients actually come from Instagram, but for some reason I get this guilt if I don't post every day on Instagram. And to be completely honest, my clients that are most successful, they're not posting every day on Instagram. They're posting maybe 2 or 3 times a day, but it's consistent and there's a system and a strategy behind it. They're not just panic posting just to get a post out that day. I think another advice, which maybe we're being guilty of this, is batch once, set aside one day a month to batch all your content. But I don't know about you, but that mythical day.
Mythical, but it never happens.
Can dedicate a whole day to filming content, never happens. And then the other advice you'll hear is outsource it. And to be honest,
just hire your social media manager. Just hire this. Just hire that. And
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and to be honest, I think like the percentage of businesses that I want to say it's like 6% of small businesses make over $100,000. So like the reality is that most small businesses do not have the budget to hire a $3,500 a month social media manager. So instead of trying to like fit ourselves into these molds that don't work, we kind of just got fed up and we're like, now that we have our good friend Tober, which is our name for AI, it's robot spelled backwards. How can we use AI and systems and kind of merge them together to create this content creation system that doesn't burn us out and actually kind of feels sustainable with our actual capacity that we have?
Yeah, and I want to add that this is a system that is truly designed in sustainability. In reality, Jess thrives on YouTube, but can Jess be creating 100 different YouTubes like a month? Not really. That's not sustainable. It's not really impactful or intentional. And so, what this does, and I would say the same for me, is that in my email list, in my blogs, is really where I thrive. But me sending 100 emails to my email list isn't aligned with my strategy or the amount of capacity that I have time with. So it's really taking kind of this holistic or this hero piece, I guess, for lack of a better word, and making it thrive, expanding on that hero piece and taking it down. So this is something that we call the content waterfall method.
One of the key components of this is a long form searchable piece of content because that's going to help build sustainability in our business. So I can tell you my last 3 discovery calls this month came from YouTube. I have not posted on YouTube at all this year. They're coming from a bunch of videos that when I had some extra time and space last year, I sat and I made them like evergreen content that could live on forever, that people were always going to find useful. And I have been reusing that content not only to send to my email list or to make into Instagram posts and kind of repurpose it, but it's giving me clients for the long term because it's still coming up on those YouTube searches when people are kind of trying to solve that problem. And that's how they're getting to me. So,
Yeah, before you get into the first one, though, I want to give a validating response here. Is that when we're talking about small business owners in our niche, health and wellness, but also in other niches that are also as specific as that, is that most of the time your clients aren't coming from social media. Most of the time they're coming from a searchable platform like SEO, YouTube, something along those that feeds off of an SEO type algorithm. And it's either that or it is
word of mouth for pros. Yeah.
referrals, word of mouth. Like it comes from something like that. So really leaning into these like long-term, more core pieces that are like going to essentially keep giving you and giving you. It's the investment strategy. What is it where they just like compound interest? It's essentially compound interest for your marketing. So short-term, short-lived content is that social media piece. That really long form, searchable component is really where you want to like spend all the amount of your time, not all the amount. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's kind of like we talk about tortoise and hare buyers. It's kind of like tortoise and hare marketers is where like, yes, you're going to might see some benefits from social media and posting every day. But the problem with posting and using Instagram as your only content is once that post dies, like your traffic and your lead source dies. Whereas social media, it's going to be a little bit of slower burn. It's going to take a couple of months for Google to even like crawl your page, find your page. But if you set it up correctly, and it's a topic that people are searching for, and I can do a whole other episode about how to figure out what your SEO strategy is, or you can hire me to do that because another little side project that I do. But once it finds you and you're able to rank on those big search pages and people are able to click through and find it, like that's going to drive more sustainable traffic. And what I often see is that my clients that are having, like 3,000 site visits, 5,000 site visits a month, they have maybe 4 or 5 really, really strong articles that are drawing people in there. And then like once we're able to see, oh, these are the articles people are coming to our site for, we're able to build upon like a system behind it. So we're able to create a lead magnet to go with that article and, build out a whole funnel. And that's kind of where the sustainability comes. Posting on Instagram will never build you sustainability because if you stop posting, you stop showing up on the feed.
Facts. Yep.
So that's why we think starting with this key searchable content is the key to the waterfall system.
All right. So if you're like, okay, well, what is my key content piece actually going to be about? So the very first thing that we think that in the waterfall system is those core components. So what is that core message that you're going to be developing? Really starting with like one insight, one story, like a result that you had, a client testimonial, something along those ends that you can take and expand across the board. So, a core message that I developed for this week's content for myself was essentially your audience hasn't stopped buying, they've just stopped responding to rushed, reactive, disconnected marketing. And that is something that I, from an email marketing standpoint, can take in so many different directions that I'm like, this is my anchor. This is my anchor piece that I can start to build on.
Yeah. And that's going to be something that's evergreen, long term, searchable. Like, why are my clients not buying? I'm sure people that it's very high up on my Uber suggest ranking. But yeah, I love that so much. I think that coming out with this core message, like you've talked about this before about like how we plan content for the podcast and what, each content piece should have a goal when we're thinking about, what do we want to create for the podcast or what do we want to create for our core message or a long term process. We want to think about like what are our goals right now. So maybe it is to sell a specific offer. So you would want your core message focused around that offer. Or maybe, you have a lead magnet and you're trying to grow your list. Your core message is focused around that lead magnet. So you're picking a core message based on what your business goals are. And then you also want to say like, well, what is the promise of the reader? What are they going to walk away, or the listener? What are they going to walk away from this with? And then like, how do you guide them to the next step with the core message? So those are like three key components that I think need to be in there. I also think because we are in like a trust economy right now, that having a case study or a review or a testimonial or some sort of client transformation that you can specifically talk about related to this core message is going to help that message come across like so much stronger as well. So when you're thinking about developing your core message for the week, those are kind of like the four things that I think you should have.
Yeah, a little kind of experiment that I did when kind of developing this core message for the week was reflecting back on some of the things that I know performed really, really well, and then feeding that into, and we'll get kind of into some of the system, like the logistics behind the system, but feeding those things that you know do well and deliver a result. So, like, obviously, in an email marketing person here, my segments are built off of and or ors. And when you're building your core message, you want it to be relatable, be a strong message, and support a business goal, because we are all entrepreneurs. We are all business owners that are cranking and having like a bottom line to have to address and have to like adjust for. And at the end of the day, if you're posting content just to post content, it's not going to move the needle if it's not assigned a goal, if it's not assigned a business task that is going to then act as an employee and give you something in return.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then from that core message, you're going to develop your first searchable piece of content. So that can be a blog if you prefer writing, that can be a video, that can be a podcast. I think one of those three, YouTube, because it's searchable, podcast, kind of searchable, especially if you put your podcast on YouTube as well, like we do, and then your blog. And you can actually like put it in all three. That's kind of what I would recommend once you get a system put up from that. And then after you get that core piece of content, that's where the waterfall begins. So you take your core message and you can turn it into your blog. Okay. So you've got your blog and then you're going to turn it into your email. I'm going to let Rachel explain why it's so important. We're going to kind of like tease out in our email newsletter. This is going to keep our buyers warm because they're getting interaction between us, but we're also not going to give them the full blog. We're not just going to copy paste the blog. We're just going to give them an intro, maybe a little personal insight, something that only like our email messengers get. And then we're going to send them to the blog or the YouTube or I would send them to even if it's a video, I would send them to your website because we want them to get to your website as many times as possible because that's going to increase the amount of sell. So even if you are doing a YouTube, I would just embed that YouTube onto your website as a quick little blog.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And like, I say this in the most kind, human like way, but to train your audience to do the things that you want them to do. 95% of the time, they are not going to convert in email when it is like they need to pay. They have to go someplace else to complete it. That means you could also have them like reply in an email, but that's still not a conversion in an email. Your email list is your tool to get them to the correct place. So a lot of times you want to train the audience to go someplace and learn more in order to like pique their interest and take that next step in, in that customer journey flow and all of that. So when it comes to your blog, you really don't want to give everything and anything inside of your email. You want to give them that next step so that that person who is interested enough can click through and then make it to your website. And then your website should have some type of pop-up prompt, content upgrade that then sends them to the correct place if there is a intended conversion in mind beyond just reading the blog or watching the YouTube or whatever. But as Jess said, it is really important to get those touch points, as many as touch points as possible, which means getting visible on your services, on your brand message, on everything that is in totality of a conversion for whatever the end goal, package, retainer, strategy session, all of that. So it's really just important in that sense to allow them to take a step extra. Don't give them everything.
One of the reasons why I love this system so much is like kind of checking off like all your marketing to-dos in like one streamlined swoop. It's like long-term traffic, check. We've done that. Like nurture current leads, check. We've done that. And then the next step is like short-term traffic engagement, where you can take this blog and kind of start to break it down into your social media content. You can break it down into, story slides. You can break it down into your carousel for the week. You can break it down into B-roll reels. You can break it down into talking head reels. And then from those reels and posts, you can just kind of post them wherever your little heart desires, whether your audience resonates. But that's how you kind of take that one piece of content and you're able to check like all your marketing tasks off for the week with this one system. So we talked about all the different pieces and components you're going to build. It sounds like a lot, but we've actually been able to turn this into a system, and using AI, we've both tested it ourselves now. And we're able to create
It's genius.
the blog posts, the email, the reels, the story scripts, the talking head scripts, all within like a 1 to 2 hour time block. Obviously, when you're new, things are going to take you longer, but like when you get going, when you have all your templates built, you will be able to bust out all of your marketing tasks within 1 to 2 hours max.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to address, like, so many people are using AI, and they're using AI slightly incorrectly, where it's coming off very robotic. You can clearly spot with the amount of emojis, and you're like, "This is AI." And so it's really how to use it correctly in order for this to be efficient. And that's kind of something that we've built into our prompts, where inside the system, it takes your tone of voice, you train it in a way that sounds like you. It is your second brain. It kind of absorbs things that you have deemed as successful pieces of content. And it has learned a lot of your mannerisms, for a lack of a better word, so that it can help you deliver more aligned, successful, actual content. So I think that's really important to address, because a lot of people are like, "Ew, like, I'm not going to use AI because it's not going to sound like me." We've addressed that.
I like to think of it as like human powered AI. And the way that we've built this system is that I think when you get bad outputs from AI, it's either you're not inserting the human into the AI. It's like, give me a post about gut health. But like, if you're prompting it with your case study, with your ideas, with your thoughts, that's giving it a human first touch approach. But then when it gives us our output, we're not going to just take the first thing it gives us. We're going to converse back and forth with them to kind of tweak it, to make sure that like it's talking to our customers on how we want to. And then even after we copy and paste that, before we post it, we're going to go back through it one more time and just make sure it really sounds like us. It's not simply just like copy and paste, right? And we're going to make sure that our AI knows that like we love emojis, but we don't need them on every lunch.
Seriously.
I absolutely love this system. Obviously, we've been kind of teasing it, but like we have built out the system. It's called the 1 hour content creation system. Basically, it is a Notion dashboard that is going to walk you through first step by step on how to train your ChatGPT to sound like you using like our 5-step voice training method. And then we're going to walk you through our content waterfall system, where we've designed very, very detailed prompts that you follow step by step inside of a chat, and you're able to these outputs to create these pieces of content. And then we're also going to guide you through other things, other tools we found helpful, like creating templates for your Instagram post in Canva, using a nifty little tool that I found in Notion. This is all built in Notion, which is called Notion Social, which allows you to schedule your social media directly through Notion. I showed it to Rachel last week. And she
And I immediately signed up and was like, this is life changing because, oh my gosh, the amount of times I was losing time going into Instagram and trying to schedule natively or scheduling in Meta. Like everything's in one place and it's genius. Like it even pulls in your analytics, it pulls in how the like post does so that you don't even have to, if you are a data girly like us, like go back and do that as an additional step. So
yeah, and I think that, the reason why the system works is, for me on Mondays now, it's not about like, oh my gosh, I have to create 10 pieces of content. It's like I have to come and like reflect on what happened last week, how I helped my clients, what kind of results they got, what issues did we talk about, come with that idea. And then from that idea, I'm able to collaborate with AI, not make it do it, but collaborate with AI to really walk through a step-by-step method where I'm not having to reinvent the wheel each week of being able to get this content out. So instead of my content taking 5 hours to do, I'm able to do it in, that 1 to 2 hour time frame. I actually just block off like 1 to 2 hours each Monday, and whatever gets done gets done. But I'm amazed that like as I'm doing this over and over and putting in the reps, I'm able to create more and more content every single time.
yeah, this is the solution for, or if you're the type of person, this is the solution for when you are doing client work and you just forget about your business. Hello, me. This is that. Like, this is the gap that's going to fill, or this is the fill for that gap where you are essentially saying, I can crank this out. I can dedicate 1 hour to my business each week, still show up confidently, still show up in a way that's supporting my business goals. And it's, for me, this whole system, like I use it. Like I would never come in here and be like, yes, 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 if it wasn't something that I already use. And it is genius. Like I'm so proud of this that like it's nuts.
And yeah, so we not only use it for our own business, but we use it for the podcast as well. We actually have a VA. We've actually handed off the implementation of this to a VA. So, even if you want to outsource, this is a great step-by-step system to be able to give it off to your team, especially once you've got your AI like sound like you. As always, like we love the system because it's not just about saving you time. It's about giving you like more mental space, less stress, more emotional bandwidth so that you can show up without burning out. But I think it's also really important for us to like make sure we don't sound like robots as well. So I think this human integration that we've, built into the system is really special.
Inside the actual like 1 hour content system, you'll get the Notion dashboard built by Jess. It's phenomenal. It's something I use in my business and I wish everybody could use this. And now you can. You get your AI prompt library, your how to train it, and then also a little tutorial where you can see me go through the entire process because sometimes you just need to see someone do it in order for it to make sense. So you get all of that stuff inside of it and it's phenomenal.
All right. So that'll be linked down below if you want to check it out. We're so excited to have you. I was even thinking, I was like, do we need to have like an accountability group where we like all hop on Zoom on like a Monday and like, this is your 1 hour to create content? Go. I think that would be fun. But we'll see. We'll see. Let us know if that's something you want.
If this episode helped you kind of see the possibility of a content system, share it with a business bestie, share it with anybody that you think is struggling with content right now.
I really, truly hope that you guys take advantage of this system. It's up for sale now. It's very, very affordable for the amount of content you're going to be able to crank out with it. And until next week,
We are
we
rooting
are
for you.
rooting for you.